everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Yeboah-Kodie, and for those of you who do know me, what's up? And as you can tell by the title, you know, there's a lot going on in my life. One minute I'm running track and at Penn State, the next minute I'm moving to LA and going to fashion school. Like, it kind of was this gigantic bomb that was dropped, and there was no story of what happened in the middle. Like, how did I get here? How did I get to this point? So that's kind of the purpose of this video. And I decided that, you know, what I'm doing is pretty cool in my opinion. So I know somebody out there can learn from this, or if you can't learn from this, you can at least be entertained by this. So I decided to share this experience with all of you, whoever decides to watch this. So I'm just kind of gonna get right into it. And I didn't really realize, you know, I filmed this video maybe 1,000,005 times, like not to be dramatic or anything, but I filmed it quite a lot, and each time, you know, it didn't seem like right. So I kind of had to like get back to the source. So thank God I write everything down. So I did some research on myself, went through my journals, and I realized like this is a way, it's a deeper and more emotional story than like I originally thought. And it's gonna be a very vulnerable story to share with everyone, but I'm here to help. I'm here to be the guidance that I wish I had when making these decisions, and I wish I had someone to kind of look towards when I was making these decisions, rather than just like going blindly in the dark and being terrified. Yeah, so I'm just gonna take a second to call myself out, because we all see it. We all see it. Every time I blink, you know, it's right there. I definitely fixed the eyelash glue. It definitely gets worse before it gets better, but just hang in there, bear with me, and it'll disappear eventually, okay? Thank you. So this whole thing started last summer when I was coming out of my freshman year at Penn State, and at Penn State I was studying chemistry and running track, and I was training for the pentathlon and the heptathlon. For those of you who don't know what that is, look it up. But anyway, so I was training for pentathlon, heptathlon, and I was kind of in a new state where I was rebuilding myself and like healing from the shit show that was my freshman year. And I'm not gonna get into too much detail about it, but if anyone would like me to make a video about sexual violence and about sexual assault and how I chose to heal from it, or just in general what I learned and what that whole experience taught me as a means to help you, I will do it. I'm so open to that. I'm very open about talking about it, but for the sake of this video, so that it's not 3 hours long, I'm gonna save that for another time. So bottom line was, I was in a state of healing myself, rebuilding myself, and getting back in tune with who I was, because I was literally like a zombie. The things that I cared about before didn't matter now. I don't really give a fuck about anything. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about track. I sure as hell did not care about anything else. Like, I didn't care. So this was kind of like getting back into who I was, finding out, figuring out what I actually wanted to do with my time and what made me happy. And the main thing really that made me happy was the fashion industry and modeling. And anyone who knows me knows that from the minute I came into this world, I wanted to be a model. And I kind of pushed it in the back of my head and kind of put it on hold, because it's not a very stable like career to tell your parents. You know what I mean? So I kind of just like put it off to the side and then kept training for track. And I was really invested in track going into my sophomore year. I was using like all of my anger, all of my frustration and confusion, and putting it into my training. And I had a lot of ambitious goals for this year, and I was fully set on accomplishing them. But a small teeny part of me was like, I don't want to fucking do this. And that teeny part like just grew bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and my need to like model and be in the fashion industry got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where like I just couldn't ignore it anymore. And going into September, October of my sophomore year, I started to get really, really frustrated because I was putting all of this mental energy into trying to find where I fit in this creative industry. But physically, all of my energy was going into track and was going into studying bio. And I was so like, I just felt so detached and so disconnected from everyone around me. And I actually, like, I really fell into like this deep depression, like literally. And everything kind of, from reading, I literally had to do research on myself. So from reading this, I saw how every part of my life kind of fit like a piece of a puzzle into like my misery, if that makes sense. It's so dramatic, but it's true. Like academics played a part, track played a part, like just overall my mental state and trying to heal played a part, and then just like being a young woman in college played a part. Not really like totally accepting myself became a part, and also like the confusion of not knowing what the fuck I wanted to do was like so terrifying, because I knew what I didn't want, but I was too scared to go after what I did want because I didn't know how to articulate or how to express it to myself or others. So like when people would ask me like, oh, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, oh, I want to be a creative. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what am I supposed to major in being creative? Like, how am I supposed to do that? So I just didn't know, and I was really nervous and I was scared. So going into October, something a little weird started happening. And when I was at the track, like, I started to get these panic attacks, like, after every running workout that I would do. And it was super weird because the track just became like a trigger for everything. A trigger for things that happened with me the year previously, a trigger, like a constant reminder of this is not where I want to be. And I was getting so overwhelmed and so frustrated and so angry that like I literally would have full-blown panic attacks. And it got to a point where like it was so obvious that I had to reach out for help. Like I had to. So I went to my teammates, I went to my coaches, and everyone was really confused because everyone outside looking in thought that I was just, you know, I was the one that people went to when they were like didn't want to do track anymore. Everyone else always talked about quitting track, and I was always the one to be like, no, stick it out, like kind of talk them down. But here I am saying I need to get the fuck out of here. Like I'm losing my shit. I'm literally losing my mind. And it was just really like really hard because now the track became a place of fear, because I was like, well, if I run, am I gonna start like hyperventilating and not be able to breathe and have to go in the bathroom for 20 minutes and then have to come back out like nothing happened? Like what is this? Like what am I have no idea. And I was just like walking on eggshells literally because I didn't know what would trigger me into like this panic attack, especially since that like never ever happened to me before. I gave myself a choice. I'm like, I can either stay, keep doing all of this stuff that is making me lifeless and empty and literally driving me into a panic, or I can follow my gut, my dreams, my actual real goals that I want to accomplish and have it either succeed or have it fail. And it was the failure part that was actually scaring me and keeping me from actually going through with these plans that I was thinking of in my head. And I didn't make this decision. Like when I gave myself this ultimatum, I didn't actually make this decision until like January. Going into December, like I spent my entire Christmas break going to castings, going to open calls, and I didn't work out once. Don't tell anybody that. I mean, it doesn't matter now because I don't run, but I didn't run once. And I was just so happy that I was finally doing what I wanted to do. I was like, yes, every single day I'm waking up, going to the city, going to a casting, going to an open call. Like, this is it. This is what I want to be doing. And then I had to come back to school. And when I came back to school, I was angry as a motherfucker. I was so mad. And I was just so mad because I was like, I just spent 2 weeks actually happy. Now I have to go back there and run around a goddamn track. Like, are you kidding me? And I was just so mad, and I decided right then and there that I had to make this change. And I remember this. I will remember this day forever. It was the day after Christmas, and I went to an open call, and everything that could have went wrong that day. It was a horrible day, probably one of my worst days. And on one of my worst days, I was having a better time than on one of my best days at track. And that's when I knew something had to change. And my mom texted me in the midst of I was having a mental breakdown in my car, driving back from the city in rush hour traffic. I was bawling. I get a text saying, if you're not doing track, you're not staying at Penn State, so look up a school in New York and you can go there. And I was just like, oh, this is so overwhelming. I was being so dramatic. I remember one of my friends was like, why don't you make a list of the pros and the cons, and you can make your decision then. And I'm going to read you my pros and my cons, okay? I'm going to read you this. We're really going in here. Pros of staying at Penn State. I'm with my friends. I get a degree. I'm comfortable. Free therapy, free football tickets, free gear, and travel trips, but I'm traveling to like Iowa, so who cares? Forces me to stay fit, a nice house next year, a free nutritionist, cute uniforms. Those are my pros, okay? My cons, I'm miserable 60% of the time. I get anxiety all of the time. Painful workouts, meets as a whole. I'm not able to pursue modeling or anything I want to do wholeheartedly. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and it's $40,000 a year for me to hate what I do every day. Now, the list of pros was a lot longer for staying at Penn State than it was for leaving, but these were the pros that I had for leaving. Able to pursue my goals, able to live the life I've been working towards, and able to make my dreams come true. Cons of leaving. I could fail. I'm leaving behind an amazing opportunity, and the possibility of even being more miserable because I could have nothing going for me. Like, I could ultimately fail at this as a whole. But I asked myself, do I love track? No. Do any of my goals involve track? Absolutely fucking not. What are my goals? And I listed all of them, and every single one of them had to do with modeling and a career in the fashion industry. So I decided December 26th, 2018, I'm transferring, okay? I come back in January after Christmas break, and I'm thinking, you know what, why don't I just finish out the season? Like, I got this far. I did all this work. I ran Beaver Stadium up. First of all, pause the story. You think my ass wanted to quit when I spent the fall running around Beaver Stadium and running up every single stadium stair? Oh, fuck no. I was finishing that season, okay? Okay. The universe definitely had other plans for me, because when I came back in January, we went to a track meet at Michigan. It wasn't Michigan State. University of Michigan. And a year from now, we're gonna look back on this. And hopefully I'm in a better fucking place. Around people who actually give a fuck about me. Motherfucker! That meet started everything, okay? I'm not gonna get into detail because that's literally that's not the point of this video. But the basis of that day, I was competing for about like 4 to 5 hours, and I ended up getting like, while I was sick, and I ended up getting super sick. And It was so painful, and I had literal like golf balls in the back of my throat, and I couldn't eat for like a week after that. I lost like 10 pounds, which actually helped me in the end, but that's besides the point. And it was just a horrible time. So in the most dramatic, it was a very dramatic situation, in the most dramatic, painful, and abrupt way possible, the universe was like, girl, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go. Like, this is not for you anymore. Goodbye. And what was crazy was, at that meet was like my best meet that I've ever had. Like, I was the most shape I've ever been in. I was PRing and everything. And even when I was trying to like throw my events, like I was trying to like do that on purpose, I was still clearing the high jump bar. So me in the moment, I was like, what the fuck, I just want to be done with this. But I now, looking back, I realized the perspective of it all was at my best moment, at my peak athleticism, I walked away. And that was really the turning point, because I realized that I was living in a persona that I created to appease everybody. I was competing for people, to make other people happy, when I was physically and emotionally miserable. And for me personally, I think making that choice to walk away was one of the best things that I could have done for myself, because I could have kept training, I could have kept competing, I could have finished the season, I could have. But I don't think that I think if I kept competing, kept doing all that stuff, and not putting 110% focus into getting to where I wanted to go, I would not have gotten there. And it was just like a moment where I kind of had to trust myself, and I had to trust my instinct and trust my gut, and realize like it's time for me to walk away. So by the end of January, I was done with track, and I think I really want to make a big emphasis on the fact that I was living a life that I was creating for other people. The person that I was when I was running track it wasn't me, really. That was a person created to make everyone around me happy, and to make everyone around me comfortable with my decisions. And it took me to be completely exhausted and completely just run down to the ground and sick, laying in a hospital bed, to realize like, I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I have reached my point. I have competed and trained through a lot of messed up things, and this was it. I'm done. I was done. So after that point, everything kind of moved relatively quickly. And it was really crazy, because it was such a chaotic moment in time, and it was just like utter chaos, because my mom was coming up back and forth from Penn State to New York, because like one minute I was in the hospital, the next minute I was back at my dorm, and I was just like, one minute I was looking like I was getting better, and then the next minute it was like, oh my god, like, are you good? Like, I think you should go back to the hospital. So it was a very chaotic moment, and in that like state of utter chaos is where I actually found the most peace, because I was letting go of everything, like literally everything. And in the end, eventually when I got better, physically, I got better emotionally, because I was free. I was done. I was completely and utterly myself. I didn't have to report to anybody. I didn't have to report to the track at a certain time. I didn't really need to live for anybody else except for myself. And that was pretty cool, I must say. I was having a great time. And it's really crazy, because I feel like this happens a lot in just life in general. Like, you have to go through really hard moments in order to gain this sense of peace. And amongst the chaos and amidst of all of this just confusion and utter like just like that is when you find the most peace, because you have to. You really have no choice. I had to make a choice whether I was going to remain in this spot or if I was going to finally just let it all go and walk away. And I think that is one thing that I really learned from this, was when to walk away, when enough is enough, and when it was really time to just accept, like, this is who I am, this is what I want in my life, and this is what I'm gonna go do. Words of wisdom from your girl. Anyway, and going into March, that's when I really started the whole transferring process. So I really was just putting every second of the day into transferring and into getting into the space that I really wanted to get into. And that was really when, in all of the months that I had at Penn State, that was when I was my happiest, because yes, I was kind of scared and I didn't really know what was going to happen, but I was doing something for me finally, and I was just like over the moon. I was so happy. It was great. I felt like a weight lifted off of my shoulders. Like, it was fan-freaking-tastic, let me tell you. What was I saying? So going to spring break, me and my mom went to LA to visit my school and go look at apartments, and a really crazy moment happened. And asked our guide, we're like, is there anywhere we can go to get like something to eat, or is there anywhere like we can go walk around for a little bit? And they're like, oh yeah, like USC Village is however minutes away. And we're like, okay, cool, why not? So we're walking around the village getting something to eat, and my mom is like, oh my god, like, let's go look at the track. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we walk over to the track, and it was really crazy because last time I was there, I had a completely different perspective. Last time I was there, I was under the impression that I was going to be running track and go like competing, like going to the Olympics type shit. Like, I wanted to be on the Ghana team. Like, I was under the impression that I was going to be all about track, and I was under the impression that I needed track to get to California. Like, I was under the impression that in order for me to get to California, I needed to be running track at a school over here. And also a little bit of like symbolism and imagery for you. That was so nerdy. That was so nerdy. Anyway, a little bit of symbolism here. Last time, you know, I was sitting inside of the track gates. Like, I was sitting on the bleachers and like a part of it basically. And this time, like, I was kind of on the outside of it, like just like peeking in. And it was crazy that like I finally got to where I've been wanting to be my entire life by just being me. Like, I didn't need track to get there. I didn't need to be running and changing my event 5 times and fitting into this mold anymore to get to where I've always dreamed of being. I literally like just had to be me. And once I let go of that life, once I let go of the whole athlete life and this is how I need to get places, and having that set plan and just kind of letting life flow and not plan anything, I ended up exactly where I wanted to be, but better. Like, exactly. And I was just myself. Like, I was finally just me, and I got there. And it was just like such a cool moment, because I was like, wow, like I really just witnessed everything come full circle. And it was just like, me and my mom literally were just like, whoa, like this is crazy. And I just couldn't believe it. And that's also, if you learn anything from this video, it's that the minute that you drop the projection that you're putting out into the world, the minute that you drop this persona that you've created that you think is going to get you somewhere, the minute you let go of all of that is the minute that everything falls into place and falls exactly where it needs to be. And that is how I got here. And now I am moving in 2 weeks. Let's see, let me check my calendar. I'm leaving in 2 weeks, everybody. 2 weeks. I'm gonna be out on the West Coast, living my best life, living my actual truth, And yeah, I'm gonna take everyone along with me. And yeah, so I hope that you enjoyed this story. If you made it to the end, I fuck with you. And if you didn't, listen, I would have gotten annoyed by the eyelash glue too. I really would have. And I don't think I would have made it. So if you did make it to the end, thank you very much. And that's all I got for today. So, see ya.